What a year for Australian rugby. What a year for the Wallabies. Yeah, still a long way to go, but the growth, the belief, and the inroads made this year to rebuilding the Wallabies brand internationally have been second to none. The excitement for what's to come is real. What would you rate the Wallabies out of 10 for the 2024 season? Before we get into it, let me know in the comments what you thought of the Wallabies season this year. How did Joe Schmidt do? What did you think of the newcomers coming into the setup? What did you think of the current players? Who played well? Who didn't? Who was your MVP? Let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it. So some of the numbers: played 13, won 6, lost 7. Although the loss is more than the win, the year overall is a massive win for the Wallabies, especially after last year's absolute shambles. Dog's breakfast last year under Eddie Jones. One of the worst performances at a Rugby World Cup, and something I think is going to take a long time to come back from. Joe Schmidt signs on, new coach, new style of playing, new belief, and a new outlook on what needs to be done to get the Wallabies back to competing against the best, back to being one of the best rugby nations in the world. And this wasn't starting from scratch. This was starting from below that. The hurt, the embarrassment from last year's showing is real and is something this team is going to have to correct. And it's something I think this team or this group of players can correct. The international season kicks off for the Wallabies, and it couldn't have kicked off versus a better opponent. Coming up against Wales in Australia. Wales also pretty much in a similar boat to the Wallabies. Wales probably in a lower boat, or a boat that's got more water in it, if that makes sense. Also in a rebuilding phase, down in the dumps. Got a good squad, Wales do, but it's just not connecting there. So I think it was a great opponent for the Wallabies, where they were both kind of in similar boats. Some lovely running rugby emerges from this test series for the Wallabies, end-to-end tries, and the first look of how Joe Schmidt wants to play. What he's doing with these players, what sort of players he is selecting, and how he's looking at using these players and getting them stuck in to his game plan, fitting the mold of how he wants to play. A real sense of buy-in, players playing for each other, wanting to win games and wanting to put Australian rugby back on the map, back to where the former glory of the Wallabies. And this is what I don't know if you're seeing the same, Wallabies fans, but this is what I'm seeing as a neutral, or as someone who lives in Australia. I'm not a Wallabies fan. Well, that's wrong. I am a Wallabies fan. I live in Australia. I want the Wallabies to do good. But seeing it as a neutral, seeing how they've been playing this year and how well they have, how far they've come, like the first things that come to mind is a buy-in from the players. They can see what Joe Schmidt wants to do, and they're buying into that. And when you have a squad of players that buy into how you want to play, and they deliver that on the field, and you can see that as a fan or as someone watching. To the Rugby Championship, and this was never going to be easy at all for them. 2 losses, first up versus the Springboks in Australia. While there is excitement around Joe Schmidt and how he wants to play and what he's doing with the players, the reality, like there's a reality to it as well. Like you're coming up against the best teams in the world, and that reality check sets in. Springboks come to Australia and win 2 games on the bounce, and that kind of shows the Wallabies and Joe Schmidt, players, coaching staff, what it takes to play at that top level and to compete against the best in the world. These 2 losses are then followed by a win over Los Pumas in Argentina, a 1-point win, but then that gets backed up with an absolute thumping. Argentina come out, they took that 1-point win personally and come out and absolutely thump the Wallabies in Argentina. Bledisloe Cup games follow that. That first test versus the All Blacks, one for the absolute books, a 31-28 nail-biter. This is when I think people started to take notice of the rebuild, of what this Wallabies team can do. Yes, not winning all games, but showing fight, showing excitement, and showing a little bit of a hint of the Wallabies or Australian rugby of old. And that's what you want. You've got guys like Harry Wilson, Fraser McWright, Tom Wright, Noah Lolesio. These guys, during the Bledisloe Cup games or during the Rugby Championship, really putting their hands up. Angus Bell, Andrew Kellaway, guys really, really showing what it takes to be there and playing with that passion for the gold and green jersey. The Bledisloe Cup was lost again, but respect slowly starting to be restored. Autumn Nation Series kicks off, a Grand Slam opportunity or Grand Slam up for grabs. Kicked off at Twickenham, one of the best test matches of the year. Hands down. Time is up. Wallabies are down. It's the last play of the game. Wallabies need to score a try to win. In steps Len Flickitau. A beautiful try assist sets up Max Jorgensen, who bolts down the touchline to score in the corner. Secure a famous win over England in Twickenham. First time since 2015. How good, and what a way to kick off the Autumn Nation Series. Followed by a win over Wales, where the Grand Slam hopes are still well and truly alive, only to be matched by a loss to Scotland and then a very narrow loss to Ireland to finish off the season. Wallabies, even though they finished the year on a loss, they are definitely on the up. What we've learned, Joe Schmidt knows what he's doing. Selections, way of playing, creating an environment conducive to winning or conducive to having a buy-in of the players. Players wanting to get better. You can see it from the outside. Pick players on form, pick new players who come in guns blazing, and these guys can really turn it on when they want to. Some of the guys I'm talking about here is the likes of Joseph Suali'i. I thought Jeremy Williams this year has been fantastic as one of the newcomers. Really, really good for the Wallabies. Positives, I think the energy around Wallabies and Australia rugby right now, fantastic. What the players have, or new players have come and added to the Wallabies jerseys. What older players that were snubbed by previous coach that have come back in, what they've brought into the team. Guys like Harry Wilson, Tom Wright coming back into the team and really bringing that flair, that excitement, that passion to what it takes to be a Wallaby. I really do hope Joe Schmidt can stay on with the Wallabies. There's talks that there's some family dramas and he might have to move back to New Zealand. I really hope he can stay on because, man, what he's shown in that small space of time, what he can do with this squad, is fantastic. And they're definitely on the right path going forward. Their work-ons, while there's been massive excitement and massive inroads to the Wallabies setup this year, it's still a massive hill to climb to get the Wallabies back to what they once were. The reality is you need to be winning games. Rugby is it's a performance-based business or results-based, and you need to be winning games. Regardless of the opposition, you need to be winning games. But from what we've seen, just the more time in the saddle, the more time around, or this group being together, they're definitely on the right path forward. My Wallabies MVP for 2024 season. Tom Wright. Consistently one of the best, if not the best, for the Wallabies this year. Game in, game out. One of their best players on the field. one of the best attacking threats in World Rugby at the moment from the back. Man, his turn of pace, his ability to beat a player one-on-one. I love how he just backs himself, guns it. He's got the ability to back himself and execute what he's thinking of doing. Man, that spark in that Wallabies backline, and a proper coming-of-age season for Tom Wright. Did really well for the Brumbies, come in, reselected into the Wallabies squad and made that fullback jersey his own. Special mention to Fraser McRae, was also fantastic this year for the Wallabies, but my MVP, Tom Wright. Looking forward, British and Irish Lions in 2025. Yes, the Rugby World Cup is here in 2027, but I'm only looking forward to next year, British and Irish Lions in Australia. It only comes around every 12 years, and this is going to be huge. Wallabies have shown what they can do against those nations separately, Wales, England, Scotland, Ireland. Let's see what they can do against all of those teams mixed up, and I can't wait for it. My rating for the Wallabies out of 10 this year, I'm going a 6 out of 10. Yes, that might be harsh because of the inroads they have made, but at the end of the day, they still lost more than they've won this year. And while they've made a massive amount of inroads, I still think there's a lot more to go. So the progress has been great, but there's so much work still to go. And that's why I'm only giving them a 6. And that's a very good 6. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Wallabies fans, what did you think of the year? Non-Wallabies fans, neutral fans, what did you guys think of the Wallabies season this year? Let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Bye.